Alright, welcome back folks. It is Siberian, and in today's video what you'll see, or hopefully at least we'll see, is I'm going to be talking about my Scwhinn bike. Now this is a Scwhinn Tourist, and I've had it since about like 2013, maybe about 2014, and you can see that I've kind of made some changes. Now these are sort of minor for now, but things will be getting a little bit more advanced progressively as time goes on. As you can see, what I'm doing here is I've taken the bike apart and I actually want to turn it into a gravel bike. Essentially the reason for this being that when I first kind of started out and I had this bike, I wanted to actually get a mountain bike because I didn't feel very comfortable riding over the bumps that this bike can't really handle. There's a lot of different bumps on the roads here in the Bay Area, and I just wanted something that would be able to absorb those a little bit better. So one of the things that I bought for this bike is a seat post that actually has a spring built in, basically, kind of a gas spring so it can absorb some of the bumps. So that's one of the things that I've done. Those go by things like thud busters and stuff along those lines, but I didn't get one of those in particular because those are pretty expensive. I ended up actually getting a piece that's about $30, so pretty cheap, but also does the job. What you'll also see back here is I've changed to these 3-spoke wheels. I think they look really nice. These are by a Crew, and you can get them off of AliExpress for about $200-ish, more or less. And then the other thing that I've done here is I've gotten a 42C tire, so it's a little bit meatier, which means it'll again absorb the bumps a little bit better, but at the same time it gives me the gravel or off-road capability that I've been looking for on this bike to begin with. Now something that's a little bit more difficult to see is I actually have a disc back here for a disc brake, so I'll be getting a conversion kit that actually mounts to one of these original brake mounts and then kind of goes down from there along one of the rails here that leads down towards the actual brake caliper, or where the brake caliper is going to sit. So I have that on the way, so it will be converted from your regular V-brakes into a disc brake system. Again, for better performance downhill and for just better overall performance as well. But I didn't stop there. One of the next things that I'm going to put on this bike is a Lefty. So the reason why I ended up going with the Lefty, and again, a lot of people are probably going to think that I'm completely insane, but the reason why I went with the Lefty is because, as you can see, there's quite a bit of travel that this fork actually has, which is not what I found when looking at most road bike forks that are available out there today. I have found that for the most part those will only do about 40 mils of travel, which is not really that much. I would prefer to have something that's a little bit better. The other reason is that the Lefty is actually compatible with something called a lockout. So if you're not riding in an area that has a lot of bumps and instead you're mostly on a flat surface, you can lock it out so that it's no longer compressing, and that means that you are able to essentially continue riding as if you were on a regular road bike without having to exert as much force and wasting energy, essentially. And the other reason for the Lefty, of course, is that there's simply no other fork out there that could compare in terms of the travel. Now the downside, of course, is now what I'm having to do is I have had to basically get some specialized cups, the headset cups for this frame, so that they'd be able to fit the Lefty. The issue was that the stock cups that came with it simply don't fit within the area between where the Lefty sits and the actual frame, and what I'm actually going to have to do is I'm going to have the frame cut so that it can still fit. Now the headset pieces that I got are from AER, so it's the Cane Creek AER headset, and my bike decided to fall over. So the Cane Creek AER headset allows me to run basically a semi-integrated bearing, and that means that in essence it's a really low profile headset, and that will allow me to actually mount the Lefty properly onto the frame without having to do anything else. Now these headsets seem to be getting more and more rare. I have found that the AER2 headset now no longer supports the 34mm head tubes, which is what my bike has, which is unfortunate, and that means that builds like this will probably be getting more and more rare and more impossible to do as those parts get phased out. But as I've said before, the priority is to kind of get this guy built out so that I can have a gravel bike while I'm waiting for my more dedicated mountain bike to come in, and then I can keep this guy as a sort of commuter slash gravel bike as I kind of keep going. And the primary reason for doing this is because I didn't exactly have the money to just go out and buy a full-on mountain bike with the features that I wanted, or even a gravel bike at the price that I wanted. So the biggest issue, of course, was that simply I couldn't just drop, like $1,500 or $2,000 on a bike that would have really fit the sort of needs that I had. So with this bike, it kind of gives me a middle ground, and I'm also able to do everything really piecemeal. That way I don't have to go out and spend a ridiculous amount all up front. Instead, I can kind of buy the parts and add them onto the bike as I go. And once I have this all kind of sorted, I'll have a really good gravel bike that I can ride around on pretty much everywhere. Again, the Lefty will be a really big component and a big part of that. And as time goes on, potentially I can do something like upgrade to the Lefty Ocho and save some weight, which will make the bike handle even better. This particular Lefty is the aluminum version. There are carbon fiber versions of the Lefty, which of course are a little bit lighter. But honestly, the difference in weight is not so massive that it makes an actual huge difference. The biggest difference with the Lefty Ocho is that they've now gone from a sort of double crown to a single crown, and that reduces, a whole chunk of the fork and makes it significantly lighter. I do think that the Lefty 2.0, which is this one, looks a little bit nicer than the Ocho, but again, if weight savings are your thing, then you may want to go for that. So with that said, guys, I'll keep you updated on what I'm going to do with the bike, and as I get more and more components, I will also end up kind of adding onto this video, and as I get more progress, I will keep posting progress of the bike and things that I've done so that we can all kind of see how the build goes. And ultimately, in the end, I'll do some test rides to kind of see just how well the bike actually does in the gravel. So hang on until the next video, and I'll see you guys there.